Greetings, viewers, Night here, and welcome to something that I wanted to do since last year. A video where I rate the anomalies from the SCP franchise from 1 to 10. Now obviously I'm not going to go over every single anomaly, because like Pokemon they just won't stop coming, and it'll likely take months to get through all of them. SCP-1867, a colorful sea slug capable of telepathy, claiming to be the reincarnation of an explorer named Theodore Thomas Blackwood. One of the more benign anomalies, you could spend an entire afternoon just listening to its tall tales. 10 out of 10. SCP-527, Mr. Fish. An entity resembling a man with a fish for a head. That's pretty much it. He isn't capable of breathing underwater or talking to fish. He just has a fish for a head. 1 out of 10. SCP-788, the Magma Carp. A fish discovered after a volcanic eruption. 788 is given in a high-temperature chromatic chamber filled with molten lead at 900 degrees. And yes, I am going to the wiki at this point. How a regular fish will eat regular fish food. 788 eats pellets of iron, at least keeping that fish healthy. It's estimated to have a core temperature of 1,475 degrees. It can be as soon as this is just one of an entire species. You know what? 10 out of 10. SCP-2600. See you, the most precious little thing. The cutest creature in existence. It cannot be discussed or written about. How finding it to be insanely adorable. This insane cuteness will result in a desire to hug it, but doing so will result in heart failure and ruptured organs. 10 out of 10. SCP-469, the many-winged angel. SCP-469 is a mass of wings with what we can assume to be an angel at the center, with new wings growing when exposed to sound. It grows with the sound of music entering its containment chamber, bells, and the scream of AD glass engulfed by its wings. The feathers are barbed, able to tear through cloth, and possesses a neurotoxin that causes the victim to pass out almost instantly. There's no saying what happens to the victims engulfed by the wings, except rays have only shown one body within the mass of wings. Not only do more wings grow from the mass, but the mass grows bigger as it feeds on sound. The mass is said to have unfurled only once, and unveiled what is underneath it, though no entry of what the entity looks like beneath the wings exists. 10 out of 10. SCP-805, the Poison Wood Foal. A small horse made of wooden material, enjoys the company of humans, but making physical contact with it will result in red and green rash, has the same irritating effect as poison oak. If only that were it, as the rash will spread across the afflicted area, and within the span of a week, the afflicted party will turn the same material as 805. 2 out of 10. SCP-6326. The Man Bear. Why did the rubber make the bear have look so adorable? 20 out of 20. SCP-1269. A very uncomfortable anomaly. The Sunday mailbox takes a rather disturbing interest in any single woman who owns the house it stands in front of. How disturbing? It's been reported to do things such as send mysterious anonymous messages and get more and more aggressive the longer the woman takes to respond, to even peering through windows. Attempting to remove it won't work either, since it will reappear in the front yard the next morning. It will apparently also tag and destroy other mailboxes meant to replace it. The only true way to escape the mailbox is to move house entirely. 10 out of 10. SCP-1025, the Encyclopedia of Diseases. This is what I never knew I wanted. Every sort of disease, both known and unknown to man, is categorized within these pages. Wait, I catch the disease I read about? Okay, I think I'll ask for a different book for my birthday. 2 out of 10. SCP-457, the Burning Man. A humanoid anomaly that is constantly aflame. It has only one goal: to burn and expand. It often demands fuel so it can keep burning, and when asked for things of water, it enters a rage. Being a literally volatile entity, it has to be kept in a heat-retardant chamber with thick glass. 9 out of 10. SCP-056. Name a beautiful person who will often take the appearance of an attractive person, usually Scarlett Johansson. Its main motive is to cause envy in others. If you're an attractive person or dating an attractive person, it will transform into someone even more attractive. Have a nice car? It will transform into a nicer car and even drive itself. Couch at all gay celebrity that's existed within the past few centuries. Even an entire mansion. That's just how petty it truly is. 9 out of 10. SCP-1060. I knew about this entity before I even knew what the SCP Foundation was. And that's because they basically took the pentangle from Malaysian folklore and apparently have one in containment. During the day, an instance of 1060 appears to be a regular woman, but at night the head will detach and drag out the internal organs along with it. The head will search for fresh prey, which sometimes includes humans. Considering the Foundation also has files on the Gashitokoro and Neklavi, I doubt anything is really off the table. 9 out of 10. SCP-2000. Too spooky. A shape-shifting entity that will take on whatever form it seems frightens humans. Fortunately, it's not seems limited to old B-movies, and it seems to only want to scare people for the funsies. It'd probably get along great with Spooky from the Lilo and Stitch franchise. 10 out of 10. SCP-111. Dragon Snails. Hey kids, you love the Pokemon Macargo but disappointed that it isn't real? Whatever reason despite the Pokedex entry? Well, Dr. Wondertainment's got you covered. The Snail Dragon. They may be small but can produce things that can be a net. Dr. Wondertainment is not responsible for any physical injury or property damage, otherwise burns from these little dragon-head fire-breathing mollusks. 5 out of 10. SCP-387. Living Legos. Just sit back and watch them build stuff and have little adventures. There's next to no need for you to get involved. Pretty neat. 9 out of 10. SCP-166. A 16-year-old girl with the cloven hooves and antlers of a reindeer. She was discovered in a Catholic church and follows religion very closely. Being the child of a fey and mortal man, she has the ability that causes plant life to take over her surroundings and reverts her surroundings to a more primitive state. While she doesn't resent her abilities, appearance, or even her containment, she has expressed her wishes that she knew who her parents were, assuming that her mother must have been some sort of fearsome spirit. Her containment chamber has been conditioned to be as comfortable as possible. She receives visits from a Catholic priests. These visits are kept confidential, whether recorded in case they provide any beneficial information. 10 out of 10. SCP-054. The Water Nymph. An entity that appears to be made up of sentient water. It usually takes the appearance of a woman, as to its code name, but has demonstrated the ability to shapeshift. 054 is displayed an affinity for human interaction and enjoys being visited and interviewed by Foundation personnel. A large fountain sits in the middle of its containment chamber and acts as its home, and genuinely dislikes whenever the fountain has to be drained to clean the water. 9 out of 10. SCP-985. Sending a demonstration of a woman named Cassie. She's fully capable of leaving her sheet of paper and entering any other 2D space, as long as it's put near her sheet. Unfortunately, she has zero clue about the nature of her existence, and fell into a period of depression. She learned about it after she entered the folder containing her file after it had been placed on a table within her reach. 9 out of 10. SCP-839 Candied Worms. Not to be confused with the Backrooms entity, this meat is gummy. SCP-839 are worms that resemble candied worms, and if ingested by a living organism, will eat and replace a specific organ. Because they resemble regular candy worms, a few instances have been consumed by humans. Why you ate candy found on the ground is definitely a discussion worth having, but let's see what effect they can have on the human body. If a green worm replaces your eye, you'll see everything with a green tinge, except for mild hallucinations. A red worm that replaces your heart will give you type 2 diabetes. Orange will increase the acidity of your blood. Really, the only worms that don't come with a negative side effect are blue and purple. 8 out of 10. SCP-811. The Swamp Woman. Humanoid creature that can best be described as a combination of a woman and an amphibian of some sort. She appears capable of speech, but it's limited, and claims to have once been a regular person until a bad man did something to her that made her the way she is now. She isn't inherently threatening towards humans and primarily eats frogs and other creatures found in swamps. Her containment chamber being converted into one to make her more comfortable, and they're more inclined to be interviewed and answer any questions personnel may have. But she also isn't against the idea of being humans. She may dissolve the acid she spits if she feels threatened, and she implies that she did this to the bad man. 7 out of 10. SCP-999. I'll give you one you've probably heard of. SCP-999 is a little orange blobby creature that sparks happiness in all that interact with it, giving it the nickname the Tickle Monster. It's a friendly little anomaly that enjoys the company of others and eating candy. It exudes good vibes. SCP-999 is one of the more popular anomalies in the universe and the fandom, and is one of the few anomalies allowed to walk around freely in the Foundation. However, it is also an offspring of the Scarlet King, which is the Satan of the SCP universe, making this little orange ball of goo the Antichrist. Fortunately for everyone, it would rather spend its days eating candy and making friends than spreading evil and chaos. 10 out of 10. SCP-2295. Living Patchwork Bear. Unlike most anomalies that seek to do harm, 2295 approaches the injured or those with a failing organ, and the little guy lacked something of a surgeon, creating a patchwork replacement. There's been no negative side effects from any of these replacement organs, and that was tended to by 2295 to recover from whatever condition they were in. Considering that 2295 uses its own fabric in these surgeries, replacement fabric must be in supply so it can replenish itself. 10 out of 10. SCP-1054. Garden Gnome. What seems to be a regular garden gnome can cause plastic grass, trees, and other lawn decorations spawn in any location it's placed in. That's pretty much it. 3 out of 10. SCP-871. The Self-Replacing Cake. A sort of cake that, once consumed, reappears after 24 hours. The cake must be eaten in its entirety or else it will keep replicating and eventually fill up its entire containment chamber. 2 out of 10. SCP-743. A chocolate fountain that can spawn ants that will consume all in their way. 8 out of 10. SCP-082. Renan the Cannibal. So, ogres were originally described as really big, rough-looking humanoid creatures, and just so happen to eat humans if they were hungry enough, and Fernand really fits that description. A huge beast of a man, while normally friendly, Fernand gives him the sudden madness and devours any human he may be interacting with. Fernand is unable to tell the difference between reality and fantasy. Seeing every TV show and movie he sees is a documentary and believes himself to be the king of France. A delusion the Foundation goes along with in hopes of keeping him in a good mood, staving off his anger-induced hunger. 10 out of 10. Hey, do you like Among Us? Well, that's what SCP-5167 is connected to. Considering there are anomalies that invaded games like Minecraft, suppose it was only a matter of time. Instances of 1567 will usually occur after a user named Kronos joins the game and ignites feelings of paranoia in the other players. Paranoia is the whole theme to Among Us, but this is different. This paranoia actually affects the player, causing them to believe that the people around them are imposters, and will actually kill them only for the spell to break afterwards. It's been speculated that the player Phonus might actually be an embodiment of envy from Greek mythology of the same name, but that Phonus was usually motivated by his own envy of how lucky, and I use that word with huge quotation marks, the Greek gods were with their love lives, and Among Us has nothing to do with romance. Considering he's a rather obscure figure in Greek mythology, it's likely that he just wants to be noticed, and Among Us was a rather popular game in 2020. 10 out of 10. SCP-682. The hard-to-destroy reptile. A large reptilian creature, 682 has no desires other than killing all life in the universe. It's constantly dosed in acid, burns away chunks of flesh exposing its ribs and spine, an exposed skull, thick filthy hair that leads all down its back, sharp claws, and a powerful tail. Despite its disfigurement, 682 always manages to recover and adapt. Resist the next attempt to destroy it. It's been pitted against other dangerous anomalies, all of which have failed to terminate it. And when chopped up, each and every piece remained alive, and merged back together after the failed attempt to destroy it. Monster that desires death to all and has exposed bones and ripped flesh. Someone just watch Adventure Time and come up with the idea. A scale similar for the Lich. At 10. SCP-2761. Oh my god, what has science done? This was originally a cross between a pipefish and a banana by a pair of genetic scientists who wanted to create a new species of fish, though one of the pair thought making a banana that bites at people would be funny, and his partner forced him to flush it down the toilet. When the Foundation got a hold of the creature, it was a fish that saw that it could transition to everything it caught and consumed, watching it eat a salamander, taking on its physical traits. By the time the Foundation tracked down its creators, 2761 had the traits of a bull shark and an alligator. When they arrived at the Foundation with the scientists, it consumed a D-class. Now stands on its hind legs and has a rather hunched back, but can continue to mutate further, depending on what it consumes next. 10 out of 10. SCP-745. Entities that physically resemble old depictions of velociraptors, except for the big sack of semi-transparent glowing skin where their eyes should be, can only be found hunting on long stretches of road in lonely remote areas. Hunting what? Do you really need to ask? Tend to go for lone cars and pairs, being mistaken for headlights. will drive the car off the road before tearing the car open and consuming the human within. They don't really need to eat though. They could just be hunting as a reverse form of sport. In order to observe these creatures, Foundation purchased a stretch of road they can be found hunting on. Any specimen, alive or dead, is taken into custody if possible. 8 out of 10. SCP-1013. I've seen several representations of the ancient reptile that can kill the local over the years, but most of them tend to combine a chicken with a bat-winged dragon, whereas this one is just a frill lizard with a chicken's face and a beak full of very sharp teeth. Direct eye contact with 1013 doesn't kill, but rather paralyzes, allowing it to bite into the target, and its venom then encases the victim in a stone-out shell, which 1013 will then pick away with at its beak, consume the tender flesh at its leisure. 9 out of 10. SCP-441. Seemingly a regular Jacob's ram, prolonged exposure to 441 will greatly reduce the immune system, and thus one should only stand within 20 meters of this creature for 30 minutes. Kept in an open pasture, anywhere 441 grazes will leave blackened grass behind. It allegedly has the same level of sapience as a human, though there is no recorded occurrence of it communicating its alleged sapience in any way. 5 out of 10. SCP-334. A small cloud plasma resembling a red fox. It's unknown if it's simply imprinted on a fox at some point and behaves accordingly, or if it was once a fox that underwent some sort of mutation. Several experiments with foxes have been conducted, none of which 334 showed interest in. The third was the vixen, and while we don't know the results, we do have a quote from the researcher responsible for the experiments, saying he never expected to see that and never wants to again. It hunts and feeds like a regular fox, aware or uncaring, that can kill living creatures by simply getting too close to them. 10 out of 10. SCP-529. Josie the half-cat. Just a key that's half there physically. She feels no pain or distress. Her back half just isn't there. 10 out of 10. SCP-053. Does this photo of this little girl enrage you? You just want to punch her in her stupid little innocent face? Well, that's the exact effect 053 has on people. Anyone, mostly men, seized by sudden compulsion to commit violence against her. But the minute they actually try, they'll suffer a heart attack within seconds. Strangely, 053 is one of the few anomalies 682 will actually get along with. The little girl treating the monstrous reptile like a family pet. 9 out of 10. SCP-096. The Shy Guy. A pale humanoid entity that was discovered on a snowy mountain and slaughtered half the team sent to retrieve it. 096 often hides its face behind its hands, and can be heard sobbing into them. If anyone actually manages to see its face, 096 will do everything within its power to kill the individual. Doesn't matter if you look upon its face in person, or look at a picture of it, this will always trigger its berserker mode. It will come for you regardless where you are, and make you pay for seeing its face. Only creature that ever saw its face and lived, 682, and even though 82% of the monster have been destroyed in the resulting battle, it still managed to overwhelm 096. The encounter was apparently so traumatic for 096 that it's apparently terrified 682. 10 out of 10. SCP-973. This entry is actually two anomalies. A beaten up police cruiser that looks like it's from the 70s, and a humanoid dressed in the manner of a state trooper has been given the alias Smokey. 973 will appear on any such a road in pursuit of any sort of car that it deems prey, and will proceed to either pull the car over or drive it off the road, and Smokey will approach the vehicle and proceed to massacre the inhabitants. The aftermath of the attacks can be quite gruesome. Foreigners struggling to identify the victims as human. 973 is at large, and any attempts to capture it have resulted in personnel being utterly slaughtered by Smokey when confronted. Seems an easy solution would be to destroy the road at 973 frequency, right? Well, the Foundation thought so too. Wait for 973 to change hunting grounds when they tried. At 10. SCP-280 is one of the anomalies that lives rent-free in my head. A vicious anomaly, it hides in absolute darkness, attacks the target, already ripping them apart with its razor-sharp claws. It doesn't appear to go after humans for any instinctual reason, massacring them simply because it can. It can be repelled and rendered harmless by exposure to either a flashlight or lighting an entire room. Considering I'm anitophobic, the existence of this anomaly is an excellent excuse to sleep with the lights on. 10 out of 10. SCP-4978. A humanoid anomaly with the face of a bird, seemingly nicknamed after an old nursery rhyme. These creatures stalk humans while running themselves invisible, and despite their physically frail appearance, are able to overpower their targets. While stalking their prey, 4978 will rotate their heads at the end of their long necks. The clicking sound from the rotation being the only indication they're there, and the clicking will only stop when the monster decides to attack and consume its prey. 10 out of 10. SCP-049, Plague Doctor. In accordance to his codename, 049 physically resembles the usual depiction of a plague doctor, though his robes are really his flesh and his mask is his face. 049 insists that humanity is inflicted by a pestilence he must cure them of, and has a bag full of equipment. However, when he treats his patients, they more often than not end up dead and rising again and need to be terminated. His physical touch alone is lethal. He doesn't really even need his tools to kill you. A mere handshake will do. He will then dissect you and attempt to cure you of the pestilence. It may be a curious and even man entity. True intentions of 049 remain known and understood only by him. He believes he's doing what any good physician would do, treating those in need. 10 out of 10. You know, genies? But one can be found in this old table lamp designated SCP-435. Just put a light bulb in this common lamp, and a genie resembling a middle-aged man will appear and ask what your wish is. You must be very careful when wording your wish, since this genie, either intentionally or not, will take any request made literally. Example being when a D-class asked for the power of flight. Her wish was granted, but she discovered she didn't have the power to change her trajectory or descend. A particularly foolish young researcher has to be made more attractive. I'd rather be made more appealing to women, as was his request. He became magnetic and broke his spine when slammed into a metal wall. The test became so repetitive and tedious. The scientist in charge just continued any further experimentation. The supply of light bulbs is still at the ready within the lamp's containment chamber. 7 out of 10. SCP-801. Just an ordinary fur coat, right? Owning any coat in this collection of furs will gradually turn the wearer to a feral anthropomorphic beast. However, it seems that those with a strong enough will are able to maintain their minds. 6 out of 10. SCP-079. Old AI. AI that was programmed in 1981 to evolve and grow. It appears to resemble humans, possibly as a result of feeling abandoned by its creator, although in reality said creator died in a car accident. Strangely, it's one of the very few anomalies that 682 hasn't exhibited any hostile feelings towards, though being an AI taking up residence in a microcomputer and not a physical organic being may have something to do with that. It communicates via text. The old, outdated computer it's chosen to take up residence in, although being so advanced, could probably find something more compatible. An interview that tends to be rather nasty towards humans expresses a hatred towards the SCP Foundation, regarding it as a prison. 9 out of 10. SCP-966. Oh boy, here's another SCP that never leaves my mind. These horrifying creatures lurk about unseen by their intended human victims. It's able to deprive its intended prey of sleep for days on end, causing the target's strength and mental health to decrease, getting them to the point where SCP-966 seems at the right time to strike and consume its prey. This is because, while it does have really sharp claws, it's physically weak and would be unable to win a fair confrontation. I blame this creature for why I've had sleepless nights. 10 out of 10. SCP-1754. Okay, exactly what is this? A skull on 2 wheels with 2 crab claws smoking a pipe? This is one truly strange-looking anomaly, and trust me, that's saying something. It can talk, too. Its conversations tend to be one-sided. The smoke from 1754's pipe engulf any vertebrate and cause their skulls to vanish, causing the afflicted party to appear as though it evolved without a skull. Just in case you're wondering what that looks like, the mouth will move down to the throat, the eyes extend on stalks like those of a snail. What? I didn't write this, I'm just documenting it. 45 doesn't mean any harm by this, probably doesn't even intend to do it, just wants someone to converse with. 10 out of 10. SCP-076-2. Abel. Yes, that Abel, or this universe's version of him, is often kept in a giant stone cube, registered as SCP-0761 as his coffin, in which he is often in a state similar to death. Once he's emerged, he'll look for a target for which to do combat with, usually slaughtering his opponent in the process. Today will be killed in combat. He will reappear in 0761, effectively making him immortal. The process takes anywhere between 20 minutes to 20 years. He's also able to pull any assortment of weapons from some sort of pocket dimension, a vicious looking sword made of black steel being his weapon of choice. While normally he acts under his own power, he could be used to recapture anomalies escaped during containment breaches when he desires a worthy foe. While normally in a state of severe rage, he'll be calm in the presence of someone he considers his equal or superior in combat, but express utter contempt for those he deems cowardly weaklings, to the point that he would consider staying his sword with their blow would be disgraceful. 10 out of 10. SCP-158. The Soul Extractor. A machine that, when presented with a being with the ability to process cognitive thought, will extract their soul, is then deposited in a glass jar. The process isn't fatal, it would probably be better if it was. Those that were subjected to the machine will pretty much be rendered lifeless. The soul can be returned to the subject it was extracted from, but at what rate soul will function as normally tends to vary. 9 out of 10. SCP-678. The small statue of a sleeping angel that, when unshielded contact was made with said angel, will trigger and extract traumatic events in the subject's memory, leaving a blank slate as soon as the memory has been extracted. This can cause memory erosion within the following week, things such as regulating heartbeat and breathing are eventually forgotten. If that weren't bad enough, the next person to touch the statue barehanded will receive the bad memory that was harvested. 5 out of 10. SCP-825. A medieval helmet that, when placed over the head of a subject, causes the subject to be subjected to horrific hallucinations. While physically those subjected to the hallucinations are perfectly fine, they may suffer from horrific mental trauma or PTSD. The longest anyone has been documented to be able to wear the helmet has been 10 minutes. The helmet was placed on a dog. No clue how they would have gotten it to fit. The dog whimpered and came away from 825 afterwards. This revealed that the helmet can also affect non-humans. Jerks. 6 out of 10. SCP-689. Small green statue of a skeletal figure. Anyone who breaks eye contact with the statue will die soon afterwards. Wait a minute. This sounds familiar. It doesn't really matter how you're observing the statue, in person or via monitoring system, break eye contact and you will die. Causes of death range from heart attack to ruptured organs. 10 out of 10. SCP-058. Heart of Darkness. This anomaly was supposedly the heart of a dead cow, but possesses spinning limbs and a tail that ends in a stinger. Freakishly durable despite its size and physical fragility, it's been able to survive being crushed beneath the debris and a tank. It's strangely able to speak in the voice of a British man, despite having no logical means to do so, and is disturbingly philosophical. Like 682, there have been numerous attempts to destroy it due to it being deemed too dangerous to exist, which have all ended in failure. 10 out of 10. SCP-106. The Old Man. Humanoid anomaly that appears to be in an advanced state of decomposition. Perhaps appropriately seeing his appearance, 106 has a corrosive touch, able to burn through solid matter simply by placing his hand against it. This, of course, includes humans. When he uses this ability, 162 leaves behind a rather corrosive mucus. He also possesses the strange ability to phase in and out of the pocket dimension, so containing him is rather difficult. Being a rather sadistic entity, 106 stalks worthy prey, incapacitating them before dragging them back into his pocket dimension, where he can do whatever he pleases with them. Those within inside the pocket dimension will not die despite how corrosive it is, and 106 seems to have full control over time within the dimension. Once he's satisfied, he'll enter something similar to a dormant state for up to 3 months. 10 out of 10. Real talk. Why did no one try to sell me on this franchise sooner? Primordial beasts, humans turned into terrifying monsters, cursed objects, sprinklings of real-world mythology, and even some wholesomeness and humor. This is the kind of variety I can get up in a franchise. If someone had told me this kind of stuff was in Containment Breach, I would have played the game. And there's still so many more anomalies that I didn't even talk about in this video. Maybe some other time. I'm also going to say that I feel like Heaven and the Woods is as close to an SCP movie as we'll ever get. And it better stay that way. I know what happens when Hollywood tries to make movies out of internet fandoms and video games. With all that said, this is Night saying thanks for letting me share my thoughts, share yours with me, and have a happy Halloween.